who don't know us, we are Urvina and Anjali from UKAN Coaching. We're both career transformation coaches with very different backgrounds and experiences.
So I'm a mother of three. I have one child with special needs, and I used to work in the NHS as a therapeutic radiographer for 27 years, of which the last 15 years of that was spent helping the students and staff in their personal and career development.
And I've been a finance professional in the corporate sector for about 17 years. I'm also a passionate badminton player and coach, which has led me to pursue transformation coaching both on and off the court as well. So we'll just run through what we're expecting to cover in the next 15 to 20 minutes. What we're going to talk about is what pushing beyond your limits actually is, how to recognize if you're stuck within your limits, and some steps that you can take to break out of it. And this is a bit of a free flow session. So if you have any questions or comments, just type them into the chat and we'll pick them up as we go along. Or if we're going to cover it later, then we'll take them at the end. So just keep it coming, keep it engaged, and we know it'll be a fun session. So let's get started. Okay, so what do we mean by pushing beyond your limits? Now, this is something that a lot of people actually find quite difficult. And yet it is extremely important if you want to achieve your goals. And so if you haven't already worked it out, what we're talking about is getting out of your comfort zone. But before we do that, let me take you back to my story. So in my corporate roles, I was always known as a dependable and reliable one to meet deadlines and deliver on projects. And initially, I found it very, very difficult to say no to anyone who came to me and requested help. So many of you can relate to that, can't you? And over time, as a result, my responsibilities kept increasing, but there was no sign of a promotion. And 7 years passed this way. I had 5 different managers in that time, and I was just growing increasingly bitter and miserable at work. Now, I know you're wondering why I put up with that. Well, honestly, I couldn't bear the thought of creating a CV, looking for jobs, going for interviews, and then reestablishing myself in a new place of work. I was too comfortable where I was. I lacked the confidence in myself. And I was really not inclined to do anything about my misery. And then one day, Urvina and I were walking and she gave me a kick up my backside. Not literally.
I should have, though.
She was really tired of listening to me complain about my work situation. And so in a final bid to help me, she pointed me to a coaching course. And I really didn't know this course was going to change my life. So as I sat in this course and I was absorbing the learnings, my mind started shifting, my thoughts started shifting. And all of a sudden, I wanted more. It reignited this passion in me. And simply by changing how I looked at things, something happened to my universe. So that same year, I got a new manager at work who saw my potential and mentored me to a promotion within that same year. My self-confidence was boosted and the energy around me was so different that it changed my whole work environment too. And so I stayed on in that role for another 4 years because guess what? I'd found my new comfort zone. But this time it was slightly different. I had a purpose. I knew that I wanted to help others in similar situations to me to break out of their comfort zone. And so I started working with Urvina to build our coaching business on the side. And then finally, I took the plunge and I quit my job. And I can honestly say it was way out of my comfort zone. And it took a lot of self-belief and confidence to take that action. But here we are now.
So to be honest, Anjali, not only she just didn't step out of that comfort zone, she actually leapt out of that comfort zone with 2 feet. Now, a comfort zone is something where you feel, oh my God, I can do this really well, almost with your eyes closed, no effort at all. And almost like on autopilot, you know, when we drive to places, We're so used to driving from one place to another every day. You don't even really notice anything about it. That's how comfortable you feel. But how do you even recognize that you're in the comfort zone? Because it does tend to creep up on us. So from your point of view, actually, how do you know that you're in the comfort zone? Give us a flavor of what you feel it might be or think it is. Now, remember, you are in the pushing beyond your limits talk. So come on, don't be shy.
If you're
Type it.
bored,
Yeah, you can
Sorry.
type it in or say it.
I just said, if you're bored,
Bored, yeah. Yeah.
Any other signs that come up or you can think of?
too easy to do your job, or assuming you were talking about work.
It can extend to career or life. We've given a career example, but it's the same even when we're talking about anything in our lives.
Yeah, but you're right there, Ethel, as well. Yeah.
Anyone else? Anything?
I think you don't want to take on the stress of anything new. So you just want to cruise.
Yeah.
Cruising. Yep. Cruising.
Autopilot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. So let's just explore some of these and some of that we've come up with as well. So imagine you're in a job where the task is routine, it's predictable, there's no complexity or problem solving. It's almost like you're going through the motions without any intellectual stimulation, and the opportunity for skills development is low, and you get a sense of, as you said, Hetal, boredom and disinterest. Well, that was me. And without any challenges, my skills plateaued. Work became monotonous, my motivation dropped, and my professional development hit a brick wall. And with no clear trajectory, I felt stagnation. Now, when you feel stagnant, it accompanies the comfort zone, because your routines become the norm and your challenges become scarce. And so another thought here is, in fact, picture this, that when you think about change, it can trigger discomfort and anxiety. Whether it's fear of failure or fear of the unknown, the resistance to change keeps you tethered to familiar situations. And whilst this is safe and it's predictable, complacency sets in and you stop striving for more. This reminds me of Louise. Louise was a client of ours who was in the same organization for a long time. In fact, ever since she was a student. And when she came to us, she was in quite a senior role. But she was really fearful of taking the next step on that ladder, on the career ladder, because she felt if she went on to take the next step, if she would become a manager. And by doing that, she would lose her passion, she felt her identity in treating patients, which is what she came into the job to do. So she didn't even apply for any roles that would get her up that rung, despite being really ambitious. You see, being resistant to change can manifest in the comfort zone through fear, through complacency, and lack of ambition.
So consider another scenario where every day follows a predictable routine. Now, whilst this predictability gives you a sense of emotional security, it may also lead to a lack of motivation or a passion for whatever work you're doing or whatever interests you, and can also create a sense of apathy. And this is what is known as your emotional comfort. So whilst this comfort can give you some reassurance for a short while, it can hinder both your personal and your professional growth in the long run. And breaking out of your emotional comfort often involves things like embracing feedback, finding passion in the work that you're doing or in the hobbies that you're exploring, and introducing variety in that daily routine for a more fulfilling journey. So to recap, some of the ways to recognize that you are kind of stuck in your comfort zone is if you're stagnating in whatever you're doing, if you are resistant to any change, or if you're operating from your emotional comfort. And the thing is, when we are stuck in our comfort zone, we are not growing and developing to our full potential. And so when the time comes to transition or transform to something new, we find it very, very difficult. And in fact, we may, you may find that you're stuck or that you've plateaued, and it only yields acceptable results for you. And here's the thing. If you're not pushing beyond your limits, you're probably pushing your excuses. So either you push your limits or you suffer in your comfort. Which would you rather do? Your real life is waiting for you out there. Does that make sense?
So how do we get out of that comfort zone? So we've developed 3 steps that can get you out of the comfort zone. And it is using the concept of bra. Now, I'm glad there are women here today. Because now I'm not talking about the kind that uplifts your kutramans as good as they are. Here we're talking about B, R, and A. Now, B is for belief. And it's the first element that's crucial in getting you out of your comfort zone, believing in yourself. Now, we're talking here about your frame of mind rather than any distinct lack of knowledge. As obvious as it sounds, actually, we see a lot of people that come to us who don't believe in themselves. And when they're too comfortable, they find it's just more easier to think about it as being too difficult to move out of that comfort zone. So they'd rather not do anything at all than to do something about it, especially when things are uncertain. And the problem with that is that they limit their personal and professional growth and miss opportunities. And which means that they're just plodding through life. And others around them are seeing this and learning the same. And this vicious cycle starts happening. Earlier, I mentioned that my daughter, I didn't mention my daughter, but I said one of my children has learning difficulties, well, my daughter. And back in May, she went through the process of applying for jobs. Now, this process of applying for jobs is hard enough for typical people, let alone atypical people. But there was one job that she really wanted, and that was to work at Fortnum and Mason. Some of you may be aware of this department store. It's in London. It's a huge department store. It's known as often as the Queen's store. Well, that's where she wanted to work. So fortunately, she did get an interview and went for it, went well. And they told her in a few weeks' time, she would hear in a few weeks' time the results. In the next few days, she actually got another email to say, we need you for another interview with a different person. She went ahead. And this time they asked her questions like, actually, how are you going to cope with being on your feet all day or being so busy? And how do you deal with all the anxieties that come with that? And all these kinds of questions. In her mind, it all went well. My mind was, oh my God, what are they trying to get at here? Anyway, they tell her that she will hear in a few weeks' time. A few days later, she gets another email to say, we want to jump on a call with you. Now, at this point, I'm thinking, oh my God, panic. I've got to now prepare her for the worst. She's already faced over 40 rejections. I've got to prepare her, especially as this is one job that she so wanted. But her words to me were, Mom, I believe I will get this. She said to me, you go high or you go home. Okay. Her belief was resolute. So you see, believing is the core in pushing beyond your limits, right? So actually, let's do a very simple demonstration of that. So I'd like you to get up onto your feet, if you can, please. I won't say please, we're pushing beyond your limits. Come on, let's get you up on your feet. Brilliant.
You'll need a bit of space.
Yeah,
so
not too much.
not too much, but just a little bit.
Brilliant,
Yeah.
good for you. Sheila, how about you?
No? Okay,
you can do
that's
this
fine. You can do it seated as well. That's
Still
okay.
do it. All right, I want you to put your hand, whichever hand you prefer, out in front of you, a bit like that. Yeah, with your fingers pointing forward. Brilliant, right? Now, Anjali will demonstrate whilst I explain. Now, without moving your body too much, take your hand clockwise all the way to the back. Just your hand. So take it all the way to the back without moving your body as much as possible. And stop where you feel you can stop. Great. Now look at the point at which you have stopped. Just mark that point in your head, on the wall or wherever it is, to the point you've stopped. Brilliant. Now come back to the front. Put your hands down. Now, what I want you to do is close your eyes. Right? Close your eyes and believe that you can go much further than that point you just did. Visualize that in your mind's eye. Okay? Once you've done that, open your eyes and do the same process again. Take your hand clockwise all the way to the back. And now look at where you've reached. And have all three of you, if not more, most of you, reached a point that's further than what you had originally. And you can sit down now. Thank you. Yes or no? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So exactly. So it's just a very simple demonstration of what belief can do for you and how it can change things for you. Okay.
Okay. So now that we are believing in ourselves, the second step is R, which stands for resources. So what do we mean by resources? Here we're talking about what assets you can draw on to get out of your comfort zone. So they could be external resources like qualifications, skills, experience, or it could be internal resources like your motivation, drive, resilience, etc. Okay. Now we see a lot of people who believe they don't have the external resources, the qualifications, experience, or even the right skills to go for what they want. And even if they do have the right external resources, they lack the internal resources like motivation and resilience to help them step out of their comfort zone. And the thing is, with this, you end up limiting your potential and you don't even discover what you're capable of. So you might see your friends and colleagues moving onwards and upwards in either their careers or even in their lives, whilst you remain stagnant in your comfort zone and you can't understand why. And here's the thing, what got you to where you are now isn't necessarily what's going to get you to where you want to be. So you need to understand what resources you already have and what new resources you need in order to identify the next steps that you need to take. So Janice Trackman, an author, quoted, and you may want to write this down, "Everything is within your power, and your power is within you." So I'll repeat that again. Everything is within your power, and your power is within you. Okay. Good. So once you know what resources you need, the final step is A, which stands for action. Now, there are no results without taking action. And moving out of your comfort zone comes with a lot of fear, which stops us from taking action. And whilst our brains are wired to protect us from danger, it also stops us from exploring the unknown. And when we say taking action, it means actively engaging in behaviors, decisions, and experiences that take us out of our daily routine and what feels comfortable. So starting with small steps will give you the confidence and the growth mindset. So be willing and also celebrate every progress that you make. Okay. Now, we see a lot of people who really stay stuck in their comfort zone out of fear of failure. That's one of the biggest fears, and it stops them from even trying to push beyond their limits. So type a yes or a no in the chat for us if you've heard of the 5-second rule. And I'm not talking about the one where food drops or something drops on the floor and you can pick it up within 5 seconds. That's not the one I'm talking about here. Has anyone heard of the 5-second rule? Just
You can nod or whatever. Yeah. No. Yeah.
no,
No.
no.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll explain that. So the 5-second rule is a book title, and it's written by an author called Mel Robbins. Now, she's a very famous self-help author in America. And in it, she's done a lot of research on how we can take action. And in it, she's explaining that it takes our brains about 5 seconds to kick in from the time that we actually have a thought or a desire to start rationalizing and stopping us. So you only have 5 seconds to start taking action. And so you count down from 5 to 1, and you have to physically move or act on it. And this principle of taking immediate action then stops the loop of hesitation and overthinking.
And just to add to that, the reason why it doesn't go the other way is because you can carry on the numbers and not do anything at all.
So you count down from 5 to 1, which means at 1, if you haven't acted on it, that's it. Yeah. So here's the other thing is we really do believe there is no such thing as failure. Failure is feedback. Now, if you take action and you fall down, that in itself is not failure. It becomes failure if you remain where you've fallen down. And in fact, we can actually reframe the word fail as first attempt in learning.
You can write that down.
First attempt in learning. Okay.
So as you can see, like in summary, the only thing that is stopping you to push beyond your limits is you. And I remember at the beginning, we asked you to think about something that might be a bit challenging, and you scored, gave yourselves a score. For your homework, this is something, go ahead and do. And when you feel yourself stopping, stopping yourself or feel any kind of hesitancy, then all you need to think about is, bruh. and the 5-second rule. And also, in case you're wondering, my daughter did get that job at Fortnum and Mason. And that's it. We are done.
So for those of you either watching on replay or for those of you here, if you are unsure of which direction to take your career in, then we are hosting a free virtual career clarity masterclass, which is on the 5th of December. That's next Tuesday at 8 p.m. GMT. And in that, we're going to cover in more detail how you can transform your career from stagnation into progression. And in order to join us, just register using the link that's in the chat right now. And if you can't make that date and you'd still like to chat to us, then feel free to drop us a message, and we're happy to have a chat on anything. So that's pretty much our presentation on how to push beyond your limits. Any questions? Anyone?
None from me. It's been very helpful though. Thank you.
Great. So are we going to be taking action then?
Those, you had 7s and 8s in your scores, 6, 7,
Yeah.
between 7 and 8. So even if you did the one step to go on to the next number, you're taking action, and it takes you closer and closer to that edge of the limit to push you away from it. So do go ahead and do that, and give yourself that kind of what's the word, decision to do that, and give yourself a deadline to do that, and go ahead and do it. Because the thing to think about is, what's the worst that will happen?
Yeah. We'll try. Oh, no, not we'll try. Do.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, there's no word like try.
The moment you say tried, gives you the option not to.
You have to use the words for it. So it's, I am going to do it. I can do this. It's
Yeah, the language is important.
The language is important. So you empower yourself to actually go ahead and take that action.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, if there are no questions, then we're happy to give you back some time. Thank you for sparing some of your time to come and listen to this live. And for those of you watching this on recording, feel free to drop your questions or your comments as soon as underneath the video, and we're happy to get back to you when we come across them. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.
And have a good
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.